Hello, everybody. Welcome to our podcast. So happy to have you today. Today, we will be talking about the dreaded fever. Now, this is the 1 degree or 2 degree above regular temperature that people happen to run to the medicine cabinet for and grab the first fever reducer, such as ibuprofen or some other type of reducer. Now, one thing I have to tell you all about fever is that fever is, I would say, like the body's alarm system. You know, if you have a break-in or something's happening, you have alarm go off. But the fever is a way of telling us that something is going on, something is festering in there that we have to try to figure out why it's happening. Okay, so with that being said, if only everyone realized that a fever was nature's way of telling us and letting us know that, wow, it's something happening in our body that we don't know of. It's actually a good thing. Our body's way of telling us that our immune system is working. Now, we have some people that has autoimmune diseases that their immune systems aren't working sufficiently or at all anymore. And so when they get sick, they get very, very ill, and actually a defense against harmful invaders, we would allow nature to take its course and give it our full support. Instead, in our mistaken fear and ignorance, we all too often run for things like aspirin and quinine to bring down the temperature just a little bit. Now, this can, in the long run, cause much issues and problems. Now, one thing that we have to stop and ask ourselves when we go through a fever. Now, when this is happening, when our temperatures are rising, ask yourself, do we know how to work better than the natural process in which our body is going through to let us know what is going on within us? A few questions you should ask yourself is, why do we always want to reduce a fever? Why are we not grateful for it? And why do we not listen to the advice of those who know and understand its value? Now, I'm a sole believer that our ancient ancestors cherished and really gave respect to the fever. They kind of like knew its benefits and how it helped the body. It was also alarming them and telling them, hey, it's something wrong with us or something wrong with our tribe or anything. Even in ancient times, it was recognized that a fever has healing powers. One physician of that time said, give me the power to induce a fever and I will show you the way to cure all disease. Now, that seems a bit exaggerative. Nevertheless, it is instinctively true. Exceptions, of course, are in cases of really severely high temperatures, such as, that are suspected in tuberculosis, Graves' disease, parathyroid diseases, and, endocrine diseases, and iron deficiency anemia, and so on and so forth. Now, it's generally known that a physician, in cases of your body, the temperature being too low, the physician is often not trained to induce more heat to the body to get to the source, to get to the source of the problem. So in these cases, they'll have complications might arise now, only because the physician can't make the temperature go higher in the body. Okay, to induce a fever and make it higher. Now the fever, like I said, let's go back to square one, is the way the body is letting us know that something wrong. So you have a low temperature, it's no way that the physician can really tell, okay, what's going on with the body, what's happening, and to kind of like further their investigation. So that's the reason why if the temperature is too low, they have no way of inducing it, making it higher. Now, the physician's skill will not be enough to save the patient. Complications set in and his body is unable to generate more heat. And we would do well, therefore, to listen to the teachings of the physicians of antiquity and regard a fever as the healing agent it is. We should all be aware that the fever is literally our ally to fight any disease out there, unless it is a fever induced by drugs, because some medications that you take can make your fever run a little higher than normal. That is by allopathic medicines and things of that nature. Now, we have to get with the programs, such as knowing that the fever is kind of like our companion and our kind of like our partner in letting us know, hey, it's something going on in there. Let's pay attention to our bodies. What happens though if the body temperature keeps on rising and the patient is faced with an untimely demise? Did we not learn in school that we are in a mortal danger when our temperature reaches 40.5 degrees Celsius? That is like 105 degrees Fahrenheit. So, should we let it rise and run the risk of dying as a result? Ask yourself these questions. Now, this will not happen if we simply use our gift of observation. Indeed, we do not have to go far to find an example that a good example would be if we have a stove. In order for a stove to work well, it must be properly ventilated. If it is, we can increase the heat as much as we like without damaging the stove. But if it is not, the coals will smolder with serious consequences to the stove. For example, like the body. The grate may be damaged by the intense heat if the airflow from beneath it is allowed to become blocked. However, if the stove is properly cleaned out and the air can circulate freely around the stove, you will avoid the need to replace a damaged grate, a damaged body. Now, when this is applied to the human body, the principle behind this illustration and me explaining the stove and the grate and the proper ventilation will help us to know what to do. In fact, we will understand that a fever, in actuality, in a manner of speaking, nothing but an accelerated burning up process. Just burning up horrible pathogens, viruses, and things that will cause you to get extremely sick. Therefore, we must see to it that our excretory organs are open. And what that means is that they're allowed to burn up these viral or bacterial infections that's festering in us. And so the liken to the stove would be that the fire, we all know that fire needs really good oxygen and circulation to really keep it going. So the metabolic waste products must not be allowed to accumulate in the body, but must leave it in the same way as the ashes must be cleared from the grate. Okay, the same way. So we must not let these accumulate in the body and just build up and cause such a heat. The heat is there to burn whatever out of your system. Now, good bowel movement is an absolute necessity for this process to happen, and as well as adequate kidney function. For you relieve waste through your kidneys, through urine, and the skin through sweating. Now, if we give due consideration to these three factors I mentioned, and a fever will have hardly any damaging consequences. Now, when a feverish condition exists, the natural therapy method requires that first of all, the bowels be thoroughly cleansed. An enema made from an infusion of herbs can be given, or a natural laxative taken. If the oral laxative proves ineffective, introduce it into the rectum. Now, a diuretic will help stimulate the kidneys so you can relieve some of the waste through the urine. And one of the best remedies is goldenrod. Now, the botanical name for that will be solidago. But if this is not readily available, use horsetail. Botanical name is shavegrass, or an infusion of parsley, onions, or juniper berries may also be effective. Should none of these be available, make an infusion of rose hips. Rose hips are excellent, which, although relatively mild in its effect, it's still better than nothing. Now, once the kidneys are working properly, elimination through the skin must also be stimulated. Now, hot compresses are always indicated for the treatment of feverish conditions. Now, everyone, if you're uncertain about the proper procedure to go about this, ask for a practical demonstration at your home nursing class, or obtain some written instruction. To go about it in the wrong way can do more harm than good. However, a compress for the chest or the buttocks should not be too difficult to handle. Just take care that there are no spaces between the skin and the compress, okay? If the patient is well wrapped, he will soon begin to perspire. This is the whole goal, perspiration through the skin. Now, if the patient or whomever you're dealing with the fever complains of it being too hot, because you have a tendency to feel a bit hot when your temperature is running high. So if he complains about being too hot, you can always apply cold compresses to his calves or put socks soaked in vinegar on his feet. It will not be too long before the patient begins to feel a lot more comfortable and so able to sleep and function a little bit more. But rest is best. Like our parents would tell us, rest is best, but they'll feel comfortable enough to rest so the body can bring up those natural things to fight off any type of harmful pathogen or bacteria that's festering in the system, God willing. You now see how simple the natural solution is, right? It's no reason to pull out harmful pills and potions. While God has created ways are very subtle and meek, we always rush in our haste to just get that pill and get rid of the symptoms and not the actual underlying cause of it. It's a simple way of getting rid of a fever, not rid of a fever, but letting this run its course and get rid of whatever pathogens are making our bodies reacting that way. We tend to seek a far more complicated solution to our troubles. A prescription written in Latin, which most of us do not even understand, seems to inspire more faster than natural treatment can give. Of course, we never admit that the sometimes dire consequences of such proceedings actually prove this method of treatment to be wrong. The simple and natural procedure, which everyone is able to understand without any difficulty and apply in his own home, is considered to be backward and unorthodox. Now, with that being said, I really want to dive a little deeper in to make you all understand not only the reasons for fever, but some ways of counteracting and helping your body, working with your body as opposed to against your body. And I would also like to talk a little bit about nutrition and how that affects your body, and how it also can help with proper nutrition during fever in those outbreaks to help you. So I really hope you all enjoy this podcast, and I'm looking forward to you all joining me for the next podcast and continuation on fever.